All right, I want to welcome everybody to tonight's live show here at the PDR Workshop. Meet and greet, Q&A, whatever you want to call it. You guys want to start and introduce yourselves like always?
Hey, Davo.
Dave from Windy City Dent Repair out of Chicago.
Ryan from RPS Dent Repair out of Baltimore. What's going on, guys?
And Chris, Washington, D.C., Dentless Touch. So I want to thank everybody for joining us on episode 50, where we are going to try to discuss or try to figure out, can you learn PDR online? And as always, before we start to get into the topic, guys, we're going to go over our favorite tool of the week. Does anyone want to go first?
I'll go first.
Go ahead.
All right.
Got the trusty VIP Knockdown 3.0. It's got his new tip on it. I don't know what he calls it, the wedge or the edge eater. I don't know exactly.
Polished. I didn't know it was polished.
Yeah, the very edge of this is polished. This thing works excellent on door edges. So when you get that folded over piece of metal and then it leaves a ridge, it hits totally different than a regular knockdown. It doesn't leave those little pits. It worked really, really well this week. Actually last week, I had a folded over edge. It was really, really bad. Really hard line. And usually I hit it with a VIP, put little divots in it, and then wet sand it smooth, and it looks fine. This thing, if you don't have this, buy it. The knockdown itself was, I think he sells it as a set now for $85.
That's not bad.
So originally the knockdown was $75 and this was $25. So you can buy this tip separate at VIPtools.com for $75. I mean, for $25 just for the tip, but it's worth the purchase.
Okay.
So the knockdown is made out of aluminum shaft. It's padded like most of his knockdowns are, and it has a magnet to where it'll stick on the car. I do realize with these tips that it doesn't stick as good as the old one. The old knockdown used to really, really stick on the panel. This one, it's a little heavier at the end, so he must be using a different metal.
So it's a steel or stainless tip.
Yeah, I don't know what it's made out of.
Does it have does it mark at all? Do you mark the paint?
No.
Is there any markings on side?
No.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it really surprised me. It was the first time I've used it since MTE, and let me tell you, this thing's awesome. So check it out, VIP Knockdowns. That's it.
John says you can get all three tips and knocked out for $140, which is nice.
Yeah, I think he sells a kit.
Cool.
Dave, I have this CarePoint tool here. There's two that I normally use, and they're in my cart right now. I had to use this one today, just the way that this is pitched, or it kicks out up at the top here. It's got a little longer kick than another one that I use. So this is just a CarePoint tool number 510. It's $75. Ratcheting handle, like always on these. I love these little black handled sets of their tools. I really, really enjoy them. I think Ryan has one of the ones that I recommended to him, and he said it bent on him. I haven't had that issue personally, and I crank on them. But, sometimes with certain repairs that may happen. But with this, with these CarePoint tools, it gets up in those top of like the belt moldings. It gets to the top of those belt moldings really, really easy through those little holes that you may need. And if there's any dents above that little belt molding hole, these kicks on these types of tools really, really help. So this is the, I think 510, number 510 is what it is, CarePoint. You can get Dent Tools USA as their website as well. So
ratcheting handle, to me it was strong metal. I don't know how you bent it, Brian, but that's pretty.
It happens, man. I really like that the ratcheting mechanism is closed on that. It's sealed.
I really enjoy that as well. Yeah, these are solid tools personally. I really, really enjoy these smaller, skinnier, shaved at the end style CarePoint tools.
So Jonathan had a question for you, Ryan. Do you still use any of your Wiz tools, or are they out of date right now?
Most of them are out of date. A lot of them I don't have anymore because when you leave a company, you're supposed to give them all back. I have acquired a couple of the other ones that I used all the time, but I very, very rarely. Most of the stuff's new technology, so the stuff I had back then was pretty cavemanish. So,
yeah,
very little.
All right, so my tool was the edge pliers, and today, if you check out my Instagram, I actually use this on some aluminum trim from, I believe, a 1970 Audi something. And he was restoring this trim, and he just needed to get it up and flat. And I was able to repair a majority of it with these pliers. So these are from bndtools.net, and they are pretty expensive. They're $209. Now, he does run promotions, and I quickly glanced at his website today, guys, and it said he was doing like a 30% discount or something like that. So check that out. If it is 30%, then I say it's worth it. $209 is pretty steep. But the control that you get, you can also use this on the edge of hoods or edge of on the doors. The control you get compared to what's currently out there, like the Edge Jack. I think Kiko actually makes one. By far, if you do a lot of door edges, you'll probably just want to invest into this tool. It's a great design. I mean, it's well thought out with the adjustable feet, and then the tip. It does come with the tip, but it's a plastic tip. But it gives you a lot of power on those edges. But I was using them on a little chrome trim. I mean the aluminum trim.
So. Are you finding that you
go for it, Dave?
Are you finding? Do you use that with one hand with ease, or do you need two hands?
Yeah, and so that's the benefit of it. You can see what you're trying to lift a lot better than the Kiko. I use the Kiko mini lifter and the Edge Jack. It's just in the way. I think Kiko has a different version that's a little bit better, but it's still in the way of your light. This one, you can one-hand it. You don't have the two different pieces that you're trying to, slide and move and make sure that they stay together, and then they fall and drop, and you got to start the entire process over. So if I'm like doing lots, because a lot of like wholesale cars, they have those damages on the edge pretty much like every other. I mean, Ryan, are you seeing those edges bend in more on your lots?
Yeah.
So, this will probably save you a ton of time.
So obviously it takes an interchangeable tip.
Yes.
Correct. Mm-hmm. So if you had obviously to use the Edge Jack or that, you're going to go for them.
Oh, yes, for sure.
Okay.
Sure. I'm not even gonna. No, I don't even keep I don't even keep that Edge Jack in my go bag. I keep this in my go bag now.
Okay. Now, is it spring loaded, or is there a lock to get it to stay closed, or does it just stay open?
No, it's just a spring in the middle, and it just stays open. So it carries like this.
And it's made out of aluminum.
It's made out of probably billet aluminum. You can see all the machining done, and it's anodized. Probably he had to spend a lot of money for the patent. I've talked to him. He said that, now everything he comes out with, he's going to patent. And so that costs a lot of money too. But, it's a really, really good design if you do those door edges. And like Dave said, to be able to use this tool one-handed, it's so much more beneficial.
So your vision towards that dent is just better with them.
Yeah, your vision is a lot better with it, for sure.
Okay. Now, are those feet rubber? I'm only asking a million questions because I haven't held it yet. No.
So it's actually a foam padding.
Oh, really?
So, like, again, that metal trim that I used was so thin. I thought the feet were going to do more damage than, pulling it up. But I had tons of power. The feet kept it nice and stable. It didn't bow the trim. And I mean, this stuff was thin aluminum, and ideally he would, it didn't take much. I mean, I kind of one fingered the pull, and then sanded it down, and he was just gonna sand it and polish it. But yeah, this is a good tool if you can spare the price.
His stuff is really well made. I have one of the standard door jammers, and they're really, I mean, the quality is off the hook.
I mean, it's well thought of. I mean, you'd be surprised how many people in this industry, when you buy tools, don't even use a lock washer. I mean, I got some tools, and I'm just like, why you didn't thread lock this screw? It just makes more sense. But lock washer here. I mean, it's well thought out. And the guy's been building tools, I think for like 20 years. So
someone said, have you tried to turn it around to take the line out of an edge? So actually kind of like knocking down with it. That's what I was kind of getting from that question.
So I have used it in reverse. So there was a hood. It's actually was in the picture on Instagram that was bowed. It came up and just smacked the windshield. Anyway, the hinge had right on the double metal on the edge of the backside of the hood. The hinge had came up and kind of almost pierced through the top part of that hood. And so I flipped the tool over and used that to push down on the little high spot. Now, I'm not going to say it came out perfect, but to have that much power to one hand that push, and it came because of the plastic tip, a little wet sand, and you could barely see where that protruding, out what happened. So, I was able to sell that hood. I mean, obviously, I'm saving an aluminum hood that got smashed on a windshield, so it wasn't perfect, by any means, but it's a race car, and they were just hoping from like 5 feet away that it looked great, and I was able to do it with nothing that they can say, oh, you missed a dent. It was just a little wave. So yeah, this tool is money. I've been using it more and more, and my edge jack, it's just so complicated to use. And at that time, that's all we had, right? So I would use a knockdown and a Craftsman hammer and just beat on it. And then the edge jacks came out. I think they have a version 2. I have the version 1. They were cheap. I mean, those things are like $80, I think, for a set. And so if you can't afford this, definitely the edge jack is a good option. But yeah, I think that one.
So I'm bringing another tool just in conversation since we're talking about B&D. What is your thoughts on the prop and lock?
The prop and lock, I like. I mean, I like it. There is adjustment at the hinge area that I wish was a little longer, but it only happens on probably about 15% of the vehicles. And the Fords really struggle because their hinge kind of has like a Z effect, and the prop and lock doesn't have a good ability to kind of twist. And so, like my my little red lock latching thing, you can kind of just loosen it up and kind of turn it, and so it can kind of grab each hinge and locking mechanism. So that's the only struggle, that the prop and lock, it's too straight up and down what it needs to be. But as far as like deck lids and certain hoods, I mean, it doesn't move. I mean, you have
it struggles a little bit on the doors.
No, it struggles on like the Ford hoods. Okay. They have like a Z effect on the hinge.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, my thing struggles with that. I mean, everything struggles with that, honestly. But yeah, you got to watch yourself, because it has came up with those types of hoods. But other than that, there's a little piece that goes down into the latch and locks that I think needs to be a little longer.
Okay.
Other than that, it's stout. I mean,
and it works fine with the door, so it's kind of universal.
Oh, yeah.
You could use.
Mm-hmm. It actually kind of works better with the door.
Really?
Because the what goes into the latch is pretty similar on almost all manufacturers, but on a hood, the latches vary.
Yeah, they keep changing them with the aluminum.
Some of them need to be longer. Some of them need to be bigger. The metal, the little hook that they use is very thin, so it can go into everything. But the problem when it goes into everything, you got a big latch. There's a little bit of play there. I mean, which the nice thing about that is you can tighten it up. So that's the whole point of their design. But that's all. I mean, that again is in my go bag. I don't even have my red one, so like I said, it works probably on like 95% of the cars.
Nice. So, sorry, I went off track there.
You're good. You're good. So, but yeah, so let's get into this topic. So before we, I guess before we kind of give our opinion on it, let's briefly talk about the advantages and the disadvantages of trying to learn paintless dent repair through online courses. Did anybody want to go first? What do you want to hit? Advantages or disadvantages, guys?
Go for it, Dave.
Advantages?
All right, so let's go to an advantages. So the advantages of learning PDR through online courses. Go over it, Dave. I know Dave is trying to answer the live chat, guys.
Yeah.
So me and Ryan, let's
that's fine. Let's do this.
Back and forth until Dave jumps in.
So I think some of the advantages of the online stuff is that it's actually out there now. You know, when I started, there really wasn't any education out there online. It's kind of a hidden craft. And there's so many platforms out there now that put out decent content. You know, I mean, Dent Trainer, all my guys use Dent Trainer now, and it's some great content on there. There's even some stuff I like watching.
Yeah,
you know, that's definitely the advantage of it being there.
So just the ability of even having that as an option is an advantage.
Exactly, it's a tool. That's how I explain it.
What's another advantages that you can think of? I would say the cost. You know, it's a lot cheaper to pick up a online course. I think they range from what is Dent Trainer? Maybe I pay about $300 a year. So
yeah,
you know,
and $25 a month, I guess.
And I think you're able to do it on your own time. You know, if you have a full-time job, you can come home at night, run some online stuff, and sit back and try to put it to real action. You know what I mean?
Maybe less pressure.
Exactly.
Less pressure on yourself from not just having someone stand over your back and dictate and criticize what you were doing.
Exactly. You know,
go ahead. I'm sorry, Ryan.
I think the other advantages is the cost. Like you said earlier, the cost is massive for someone that's just trying to start out. So
what are the disadvantages that you see? And I think you've probably trained guys that had a lot of hours through online courses. So what are you seeing are the disadvantages in the online courses for, new guys?
Real life situations. You know, every car is different. A lot of these cars you have to learn by hand. You can look online all day long. They're not going to tell you what tool to use to fix that dent. You have to stick the tool in the door to figure it out. Or, you know, laminated glass. You can stress that learning all the time, but you don't know until you physically see it and you're like, whoa, before I put this wedge in here, just jam this wedge in here, I need to make sure it's not laminated glass, because there's a lot of cars with laminated glass. I just had a Hyundai EOS yesterday or Friday, and the back glass is laminated, and it's the first one I've ever done. I was like, whoa. So, you know, the hands-on physical thing you're just not going to get with online. It's definitely a disadvantage of real world situations.
I think, less pressure on the advantage side and lack of pressure on the disadvantage side. Just like, video workout tapes, most people look at them for a few minutes and I can do that, and 2 weeks later that thing is collecting dust. So
yeah,
it's absolutely no pressure to push yourself. And what we're trying to learn, I think the key things that we're trying to learn in the beginning stages is, sight, being able to read, that panel, read where your tool is, and just muscle memory. I think leverage and being creative with your leverage and accessibility and all that stuff comes with, actually hands-on experience. But
and I think it's the fundamentals. You know what I mean? The online, you're going to get the fundamentals, but you're not going to get the.
Will you really get the fundamentals online? Do you?
I think you get the idea. You know, I've got a guy right now that watched Dent Trainer for a year and had some pretty crappy training, and he's got the idea of, knocking down and the the pushing and how to somewhat see, he's got that idea. Like I said before, the dent trainer really breaks it down from the beginner. So it kind of, if you're just a guy off the street, you're not going to have an idea.
So let me ask you this, because you are training 2 people at the same time.
Yes.
Okay. So, and I don't know where their skill is when you started training them, but 2 weeks online, haven't touched a hood, but basically went through the entire dent trainer as much as they possibly could in 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks with someone that's been pushing. Where are you seeing? Are you able to distinguish the difference, and what are the differences?
I think the person that is pushing is more advanced than the online.
How much more? 50%? It's night and day.
Probably 20%, 25%. Just in the basics. In the basics of finding their tip, making pushes. The person that is doing dent trainer that's online doesn't quite have that, how much pressure they have to push to find their tip. They're getting in there and they're making this crazy high spot. The person that is trained has a little more finesse. They're dragging a little more. They're finessing that. That's the stuff that is real hands-on.
Right.
So,
I know you're kind of at the beginning stages, Ryan, but the guy that's probably been focused more on the dent trainer, has he improved faster because he understands that concept, and now all he has to do is just do it with
I think it helps. I wouldn't say that it's if you took a guy with no dent trainer at all and a guy that had dent trainer, I think it was definitely a tool that it's helping him, but I don't think it's a need.
Okay.
I keep dent trainer for myself here just because like I said, it's a tool. There's always some new content on there. Even if with me being an experienced tech, there's always something new. If I'm getting ready to fly, I'll pop it on and watch it for a little bit at the airport or whatever. I just think, I think the real world feel of the training and the pushing is a whole nother ball game than the online. I think it helps,
right?
But I just don't think, me personally, I don't think you could learn PDR 100% online,
right?
With no guidance,
right? And so, just to be clear for you guys, I think we all are advocates for Dent Trainer. I think we all have memberships for Dent Trainer. I know I do. Ryan, you just said you do. Dave,
I do as well.
Okay. So we do see the benefit of online courses. I can say that I think Dent Trainer probably has the best organization in videos. So check that out if you haven't already, guys. We don't have like a promo code or any of that. We're not affiliated with them in any way, but they do earn our money every year and continue to
I kind of break it down like painting, right? So I can watch someone on YouTube or something like that to, hey, this is how you should paint. This is how you're going to start drawing a person. So you're going to start with their head, or you're going to start with the body. Here's the arms, here's the legs, here's the feet. So I'm watching that and someone's showing me how to do this, and I have a paintbrush in my hand, but it's physically doing it is what's going to really get you to the next level. So Kevin Sandy said earlier, if you're a home learner, you have to have discipline.
100%. Yeah.
You're going to have that discipline to keep trying to get what you're doing on this hood or practice hood to look like what's happening online. And a lot of times you don't know how to correct yourself because they're not telling you that part.
Yep.
Where you're going wrong. They can tell you how to do it, but when you're doing it wrong, there's no one there to say, hey, that's not the right way.
And I can bring up an instance right now. And James is an active listener. He's on here. He's a great dude, good friend. He's in the middle of our training process. He went to training. He has Dent Trainer. He's been practicing for a year. He's got a full-time job and some kids. So he's doing it on the weekends and in the evenings. And he started with me, I guess this is our second week. And everything he was doing, he had the basics, but he didn't have somebody guiding him. And what my thought on that whole process is, you can practice something for 6 years. But if it's wrong, you've been practicing the wrong thing for 6 years. And what I'm trying to come out with this is me personally with online stuff, and Chris and Dave have helped me with my little YouTube channel and stuff. I have a hard time watching YouTube and putting it to work. I just learn differently. And it's a lot of guys. Some guys can do that. Some guys are hands-on guys.
Yeah.
I can't retain that content, go over here to this hood and make it happen.
Right. So what learning style are you? Because I just wanted to touch bases on, I think of guys at work that can do it at home have a different learning style.
Yes. I'm more of a hands-on, get in there and figure it out. You need the guidance. Mm-hmm. And that's where I am with James. You need that guidance of you're holding that knockdown to the angle, and that's why it's leaving a divot in the paint. Mm-hmm. Or, you're not moving the board. Or, I mean, it's a funny thing. We talked about this yesterday. I talked to James yesterday. He was starting on an aluminum hood.
Yeah. Which is,
and his thought is, well, I want the best real world situations, and he wanted the hardest thing to work on. So when he got the steel, he would smoke it. And I said, you're completely wrong. And he's like, what do you mean? And I said, you needed to crawl before you walked, right? Mm-hmm. So you need to learn those basics the fastest and the easiest way that you can before you go to the hard stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially with this type of stuff. And no offense to James, and I can understand that, wanting to just give me the hardest thing first. And if I can master that, then I know I can do the rest. And I get that mentality, because throughout life, there's been things where I'm like, well, I don't want to do the basics, or I'm going to fast forward through this first video, or chapters 1, 2, 3 don't mean anything because I'm going to go to 4, 5, and 6. And I'm just going to go to the end, and then I'll figure it out and I'll work my way backwards. But with this, you can't do that. You really need to start from the beginning, because those foundational points about PDR are really, really important, because they're going to take you then to chapters 4, 5, and 6. You have to do 1, 2, and 3.
And one thing I want to say is, this topic's up here now, and I'm a big advocate, and I have a hard time taking things from a computer and putting them to real life. But not saying this can't be done. You know what I mean? We're on the show today. We're not sitting here saying you can't learn it online and make a career out of it. We're not saying that at all. It's just a topic that came up from a new guy at MTE, and he said, do you think you could learn it online? And we were like, man, that's a great topic. I
think the chances of actually learning this is slim. Just talking to a few people, I personally don't know anybody that's learned online. And when I have guys come in and they want to not necessarily shadow me, but they just want to spend a little bit of time with me. My shop is pretty much open when I'm there. And the first thing that I fix when I see them working is their posture. That's the first thing I go to. And you cannot learn that on Dent. We're using Dent Trainer, but any online course, at least maybe I need to do the video on posture, but it changes for each repair. How you have, I had one guy, he would take the tool and kind of roll his wrist over and kind of push like that. Like, how is that even, you have no power. So I said, bring your wrist back and kind of push your body into it and keep your arm kind of straight. And he's like, oh man, I'm so much. And I'm like, you've been doing this for 2 years and no one fixed your posture. It's bonkers. But those are some of the things that you can't pick up on when it comes to PDR online, when learning PDR online. I don't know if I went over it, but one of the disadvantages that I've had is lack of a motivator. I think when you're, like you said, Ryan, I think last video, that when you're taken out of your own environment and everybody around you is kind of motivated to learn this skill, it I don't know, it just brings some level of
Yeah, Push and Polish said you can learn from online, but you don't have that positive reinforcement from a person next to you.
Oh, okay. Yes. He nailed it right there. And I mean, I think I need that. There's also somewhat of a competitive, spirit that comes in when, the other guy's getting it in. Now you're like, man, I'm struggling. I got to get it in. So again, that's still, the positive, motivation to get the job done.
Or having
Competition,
proper training in person,
yeah,
compared to online.
And I'll tell you, having 2 techs trained at the same time,
it's beautiful. Yeah, it's good.
the competition end of it is amazing because you can see them. They're like, working. They're like, is James getting that done, or is Shane getting that done? Or, it's really cool to watch.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a big thing in, you just need direction.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things in this business that just in pushing the dent that you need the, okay, no, that's wrong, or using the wrong knockdown, or using the wrong tip on that, or James called me yesterday and he said, hey, to start this crease, should I use the sharp, should I use this? That's the questions they need to ask. You know what I mean? Because before, in his head, he was just grabbing whatever he could and just pushing this thing out. So direction is a big thing.
Nice. Now, to go back on the online training for what we use it for, let's quickly go over it. Ryan, why are you still a member of Dent Trainer, or why do you still see the value of online training?
It's like I said before, it's a tool. There's some times that I'll sit back and I'm always learning. I've been doing it a long time, but there's always new stuff. They just put a bunch of new content up right after MTE. Nice. And some of the stuff is really good. It really is a good platform to learn some different techniques, or, hey, I want to freshen up on this, or that's the reason I keep it. Obviously I keep it for my guys too, but mainly just always just check in. Hey, there was different way of blending, or they just did a big video on hail estimating, so there's a lot of new stuff on there that I always want to try to keep myself educated.
Dave, why do you still pay for online courses currently at your skill level?
It's nice having that reminder every now and then. It's something that'll pop into my head, and if I'm just kind of browsing the internet or something like that, if I'm just on the computer, oh yeah, that's right, I have that membership to that one website. I wonder if they've updated anything, and that's kind of when I do it. So if they have anything new that comes out, I'll kind of just keep up with that. But it's always nice to have that little reminder. There's always that one thing that you're gonna forget, or oh yeah, that's right, I should do it that way, or that's the refresher courses, stuff like that. I mean, they're all that you're gonna need those. You're just gonna be, to me, naive to the fact that you how do you say that? You need them. You need those refreshers. You need those things to keep you in check.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when you start to get too cocky and too, I've mastered this skill and stuff like that. Like that's where stuff's kind of sometimes doesn't go your way. Having those foundations like this, I mean, even just this live show here keeps me in check, because it does remind me that there's other people out here who don't understand some of the things that we've gone through just through experience in this career. So this helps me a lot. Like, oh yeah, that's right. No, this is what we need to do properly. Like holding that knockdown, perpendicular to that panel, 90 degrees compared to, on an angle or something like that. Like Ryan just said, that's what helps me, and that's why I keep the online training too, just because it's for those refreshers every now and then. I'll probably check maybe twice a year, if that, probably 2-3 times a year. But those 2-3 times a year, I'm always like, oh yeah, that's right, I need to do that. Oh yeah, that's right, I forgot about that.
Exactly. It's that refresher.
And I also think that, at our skill level where we're at right now, it's the little small things that we're picking up on. And I know me, I love working next to a skilled technician. The go back. If I didn't work beside you, Ryan, and followed you that day, I would never even buy a go back. But now it's like I'm ripping and raving to all my guys. I'm like, hey, you better use the credit card and go buy this go bag. You missing out. You're missing out.
And the worst part is they stopped making that bag.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy. But it's that. And then when I started even going further, the R&I back. So you just pick up little things that could just help you, your career and productivity. Just little things that people figured out. I think there's a post of someone, pictures with all the Stanliner tools lined up in his truck, van. And I forget what he's using. I think he's using like a bicycle rack or something like that, or like a tool rack to actually to stabilize the tool in there. And that's a creative idea that I would have never thought about past that item at, Home Depot pretty much like every time I'm there, and didn't even think that, oh yeah, it'd probably be nice to hold my tools like that. So you pick up little techniques on estimating, how to talk to customers. And that's, I think, why we are advocates for dent trainers, because a little bit they go into depth a little bit more than just actually taking dents out. They talk a little bit about the business side and stuff like that.
They also have the glue pulling waiver, the authorization for repair. There's a lot of stuff on the dent trainer that they have available.
I feel like we should have just reached out to them and sponsored this. Crazy.
Hey,
anyway.
there are other platforms, but
yeah,
for me personally, that's the one that's
and
been there
I
for
think
me.
We may even gotten a rut. So if you guys know of another platform that's helped you out, leave a comment, leave it in the chat. We'd be more than willing to check it out. Because there may be a new platform that we missing out, because we're stuck in our ways. We're old school. So when it works, right? Especially Ryan, he gets on me all the time. He does not.
Oh yeah.
So.
Nope.
So I have a question for you guys.
Uh-oh.
If the only option was to learn through online courses, knowing what you know now, what are some of the things that you can kind of do to help out with the success of that training?
Become a detailer.
Come on, right?
I'm just kidding. What do you
think, guys? What can you do if you can only online? There's nobody around you in 200 miles, and you want to be the PDR guy of you and your family. And
I would have
internet.
a computer set up and a hood set up, and I'm working right there with it through Dent Trainer, trying whatever they're working on, hand in hand right there, to where I can record it. Okay, this is what I'm doing. That would be, and just put the time in.
Okay. Dave?
Yeah, I mean, what he just said is pretty much how I would do it as well. And I've seen guys setups online, I think on Instagram and Facebook, where they've been in their living room, they've been in their kitchen with, some sort of training on their TV or computer screen, and they're just sitting there eating dinner, or, the family's next to them and they're just practicing. And that's what it's going to take to master this skill. And that's what it would just be. It would just be, on the TV or computer, hood stand in the middle of a room, and just putting that time in. That's what's going to lead to success, is just keep repeating these foundational steps.
I would say definitely, do all of that, guys. And I think there's two things I would do differently, or add on to that, is there's a ton of videos coming out. I try to share a lot of small little mini tips and tricks. You have to pick up on it. So pay, attention to, my videos, because little small details that I can tell that people are missing, and then they comment and somebody's paying attention to the little small stuff that we're doing. So pay attention to that. And I've recently noticed people trying to train using like a Facebook group to ask questions. So definitely ask questions. And when people answer you, there is some, I don't do much answering on Facebook, but I know there's like Shane Jacks, Paul. There's a lot of good guys that will give you long paragraphs explaining what you're doing wrong and how to,
correct it, how to correct what you're doing. Yeah.
With, obviously with what they see. But, recording yourself, putting it out there in a group that could, can correct you from what they see. You have to listen to the guys that are trying to explain stuff to you. If you go off another end and say, no, that doesn't work, I mean, who are you to tell them that? You're not listening, you're not open to learn. I see that a lot in some of these forums. Be open-minded to the people that respond, especially in the paragraphs they're leaving. They're spitting some knowledge into these into these questions that people are asking. So that's what I would do if I had to work solely on an online learning style. Is just to recap, obviously do what he does, do what you guys said, computer screen, hood, and I would say join a group. There's what is it, Dent World group. There's a few other groups that you can join. PDR WorkShop. I tend to just spit out videos more so than type a paragraph. So if you jump on that, there's our Facebook group. We try to help as much as we can. And cross your fingers that you can get it. So,
a lot of it, I think, is what I'm a true believer in. If you want to do something and you put your mind to do it,
there's no stopping
you're going to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely.
But you've got to put your time in. You know what I mean? It's not going to come. That's one thing about this job is it's not going to come quick and easy.
Yeah, and it isn't for everyone. You just have to be practical with it. Like I'm not going to be a basketball player due to my height. I'm not going to be,
professional. You might be
a professional basketball player, due to my height and body type. Like I'm not going to be certain things just due to those characteristics. There's, people who don't have hand-eye coordination, and I feel like this requires a lot of that. They don't work together. Maybe they're better with their brain or better with their hands, but using them simultaneously sometimes can be tough. So, it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, if you don't
to
have
tell.
Sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah,
I was saying, if you don't have good hand and eye coordination, this skill has to be very hard. And so I'm pretty sure you can go on YouTube and figure out like some hand and eye coordination test. I mean, if you're like way on the other end of like none is there, I don't know if this is the trade that you may want to get into, whether the money's good or not. I don't know. I mean, there has to be tests that bigger corporations actually do. I mean, I can only imagine some of the pre-tests that they offer.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
like baseball requires hand-eye coordination, and I'm not good at baseball.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So there's certain things where like I don't, you just either have a knack for it or like I ask this question I think to you two all the time. Like I don't know what that single thing is we all have, which is why we can perform this job, but I'm still trying to figure that out. What do we all possess that we're able to?
In the chat if anybody
quirky
knows.
Quirky is what we all are. Everyday guy.
It's quirky.
It's quirky.
Hey, might be right. So hopefully we can I have one more question for you guys. Hopefully it can be positive. I couldn't figure out one. So is there a craft that you can pick up and learn solely online? And I'm looking for more of a hands-on craft that you can learn online. I couldn't think of any. So hopefully you guys can think
crochet.
Okay.
My mother-in-law is always watching crochet videos and crocheting.
That's a good one. My mother actually crochets, so
look at that.
But that, I mean, I think that like that's black and white though. Like it's black and white, right? You have two little
what's
sticks.
different?
You have the string and you put it on there. I guess, yeah.
I mean,
it's very similar.
It looks easy, right?
You're just not working. You're just not working on $100,000 car.
My aunt crochets, so I get it. But yeah, I mean,
you're crocheting this crooked blanket instead of busting a double piece of glass. So
true, very true.
So I know the live chat has been jumping. Dave, do you have any questions that we need to go about? I'll start with one while you look at the questions, Dave, for us. One guy said, where can I find information about some of the newest tools that come out in the PDR industry?
MTE.
Yes.
Yeah.
So go to MTE, try out some things. It's a very, I would say a pretty small convention. I mean, you can still walk it in a day.
Oh yeah. You could do it you could probably do it in 3 hours.
Yeah, especially if you stay just in the PDR realm of it and don't go, into any of the detail booths. You can definitely do it in a half a day, 6 hours for sure. So, jump down there to Florida. Most of the time they have it in Orlando, and join us at the MTE show. We recently had one, so if you missed out, you got to wait a whole year. But that's when companies tend to start releasing their new products. So
and Facebook, you get a lot of information on Facebook. They kind of drop little things in there.
Yeah, and there's a Facebook group. What is it? PDR Tool Time.
Oh yeah.
And so they tend to add. They're pretty quick with adding some new tools and stuff like that. Maybe some reviews. So check out PDR Tool Time on the Facebook group. Wes is asking, when is the next PDR workshop weekend? Did we set up a date?
No, we
guys?
were talking mid-March.
Oh, March. Okay, it's coming, so we got to come up with a date. So soon, guys, in about two weeks. And what we're trying to do is get a lot of tools out there, so you can actually, put your hands on, tools and play around with them. We're gonna set up different hoods, and Ryan has 10 different stand liner tools. I have about 10 different stand liner tools, so we're gonna play around with that. Hopefully, the guys come down that were before, because some of them actually really knew how to work their tools. So
yeah, I think he was from Philly.
His name is going past him. What's it, Dave? Do you remember his name?
Say that again.
The gentleman from Philly that was with the stand liner tools.
They were showing us the reverse blending.
Where?
At the workshop.
His name was John, I believe.
Okay, yeah. Out in Philly.
Dave is not ignoring you. There is so many people in this chat.
Yeah, he's trying to get our questions together.
So, but yeah, the workshop's fun. It's a good get together of a bunch of dent guys, and we go through the workshop, and then we eat a little bit and kind of talk tools, and it's a whole day event. So, and it's pretty cool because you see a group of guys came last time, and they've built a relationship online, and we see them in the chat, and it's pretty cool to watch just some of these newer dent guys kind of get together and share their experiences.
Yeah. And so Cody was asking, what's a good PDR kit that you guys recommend? And just an all around starting PDR kit. I directed him to the description here. Chris has a kit that he uses. It's actually called kit.com, and it has all the tools and stuff that he uses there. And then I also put in the chat here a link to mine as well. So those are just a couple of resources that you can use. I feel like piecing together a kit is best. Some feel that there are some good sets you can buy for $400, $500, $600 out there. I think it's kind of based on how invested are you trying to be in PDR. But yeah, me personally, I would piece together a kit. But I know Push and Polish said that he had bought an A1 kit for I think he said between like $500 to $600, and he uses that, and I think it's a great, and it looks like a great set.
Unfortunately, the first tool I bought from A1 was the Dent Reaper. I've never bought any of their tools, so I actually didn't even know about their kits. So I think we're more of the dent craft background. So that's kind of the tool of choice for us. But there's probably a lot of companies. A1 is a very good company to buy a set.
Yeah, I have a couple A1 tools, and I really like the quality of them. I've had them for the last couple of years now. I think I have like 2 of their bullet tip rods, and they're solid. They're stout. I have a stainless one, and then I have just a regular metal one. And one has flex, one doesn't. Both bullet tips. I mean, but just sturdy. I like the grip. I mean, they're solid tools.
I mean, I have one that I've had for 15 years, and I still use it. It's still my go-to. So
nice. Nice.
There's probably a better option, but it works. Just like I said, I'm old school.
Any questions we need to discuss, Dave?
Looks like Jonathan asked me if can you teach stand liner technique? Not a chance. I'm still learning myself, so there's so much to those techniques that I mean, I spent a long time with Casimir, but let me tell you, it's a whole nother world. It's another learning, and I've kind of enjoyed it because it's another learning experience.
Yeah, and I want to say, if you guys, it seems like stand liner is really popular right now. They just have a different technique, different tools, so I can see why. But if you guys want, we don't know Kaz and Thomas and any of that. I mean, we talk to them from time to time. But hey, if you want him to possibly come to the PDR workshop or have us reach out to him, and a bunch of you guys are willing to learn, spend an hour with him, let us know. We will have no problem reaching out to
try to get him to the
Thomas
workshop
and try to get him in the workshop, bring some of the tools that we don't have, and he may be up for it, guys. So send us the email, put it in the chat, reach out to Ryan
comment on
or
the show
any one of
here.
us. Yeah, and we'll show him the need and the excitement for him to be at our workshop in March. So please, guys, definitely do that.
Jonathan asks, is it possible to not have a website and still kill it out there?
If you're doing wholesale, retail, no.
Word of mouth retail, you could pick it up. You just wouldn't get off the street
process.
calls.
Be slower traction.
Slow process. And it's almost like it's not dying, because I know what you're saying, Ryan, because you're like very, very good at it. Like no one can come in Baltimore and do anything with Ryan. He has the word of mouth on lock. But I think, Ryan, the customers, like your new customers, is it all word of mouth or is it actually website?
Kind of 50-50. I do get a lot of calls from Google, them saying, hey, I saw you on Google. Your reviews are great. Mm-hmm. So, if you're doing it without a website, you need to set up a Google page and start pumping reviews. Mm-hmm. So reviews right now are the hottest thing on the market.
Yeah, for sure. And they've been for like 2 years. So, and you just need to be, I think having 10 reviews is not enough anymore. It's like 30, 40 is that number. They just want to see you, and in the current reviews, so they want to see you.
The benefit of the website is there's very little transparency. Mm-hmm. They look at it, they're like, okay, or they, like if you go to Chris's website, you see Chris, and then Chris shows up, or Chris is working on your car. You have that comfortable feeling that it's just not some guy in a parking lot that's out there trying to fix your dent in your car. Mm-hmm. So, I think the I'm big with transparency. All my vehicles are logoed. Uniforms. I mean, Dave's even better than I am because it says David on his shirt. I don't even go to that extent.
Yeah.
So the transparency end, it really helps. And I think the website's just something you need. It's another tool.
Mm-hmm. And I do the name on that shirt simply because I know how often people forget your name right off the bat, and it's right there. So they don't look. They don't feel nervous. Like, what was his name?
Yeah. That's a grassroots marketing thing from back in the day. That's some old school stuff, Dave.
Yeah. I was at a detail shop today, and two guys in two Porsches pull up, and they're friends. And the guy comes in, he buys a Ceramic Pro package. And the guy says, you want me to explain everything? He said, you know what? I visited your website this morning. It's very informative. You don't need to explain anything to me. I know what I want. This is kind of, you told me what my car needs, and this is what let's schedule for this. He didn't even have to sell it based on what the website, told him. And, you go to his website and it tells the entire process of how he's going to apply this Ceramic Pro, the benefits of it, and all that stuff. So when you're doing your website, you need to kind of implement some of those things, as the person just does not know what you offer. Mm-hmm. So
education is key.
Education is key. I think, we'll say that for another topic. Yeah, definitely education, and you can't hold it in. You gotta share the education. You gotta share the knowledge. So
that's it.
Anything else, Dave? Pretty sure we had a ton.
There's a lot of guys talking to each other, just commenting and helping each other out here, which is nice. So
that's good.
A lot of the questions are being answered by others, which is really, really nice. Talk about how to set up a business, ads, Google ads, stuff like that. Someone asked, do you think $10 to $15 is enough for Google AdWords?
Really depends on your area. Mm-hmm. Chris,
or $50 at a $50 monthly budget. Is it worth it for Google ads?
Test it out.
Yeah.
Give it a whirl. Yeah. If it and I would, Chris and I just had this conversation about another thing that we were working on, and I'm a true believer. 3 months. You need to test something in that market for 3 months. Because if you go 1 week or 2 weeks, you're not really going to see the benefit. You need to let it run a little bit of course to let it do what it's may do or may not do. So I would say 3 months of running that $50 budget. If you get two $200 jobs, you're getting a lot of your money back.
Mm-hmm.
So let it run, let it do its process. If it doesn't work, then you know. Like me personally, Facebook ads, Instagram ads don't work.
Yeah.
But for Chris, it does pretty well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, it's all in your area.
And
Yelp
do you think that's a utilization thing between you and Chris? Where Chris will dive down into the ads more than maybe you will, because you know that you work at a different your marketing's just different.
Yeah.
Like you prefer one over that.
And I'm a true believer in it's all market share. And what I mean by market share is Yelp in Maryland isn't as good as Yelp in Chicago or in New York City.
Yeah.
It's all different. I hear a lot of guys, Yelp is awesome. I was talking to Ian Cordell from Mobile Tech Shade, and he says, I love Yelp. We do really well with Yelp. And I'm like, it's terrible here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, it's really market share.
Yeah.
He's in California, and I think Yelp is huge in California.
Yeah. A lot of the Californian guys always say you got to get on a Yelp. You have to. You got to spend $400 a month on Yelp. I think Yelp actually starts at like $150, so that's why I'm saying like $300. They don't have packages like Google Ads where you can do like $5 or $50 a month. I think it's $150 and it gives you nothing, and then I think it's $300 or something.
And I see Google making a lot of changes, so I don't know if things are going to change on the advertising world. I see they're officially closing Google Plus. So, I don't know what's in the works for them. They're usually pretty quick with those changes. So,
yep. Well, we'll do an advertising marketing topic. It looks like, it looks like everybody. And then Cody just said Instagram doesn't work for him either. I think why I use with Instagram, you're going to local audience generally posting, ads. The way like Instagram is just getting your name out there, just constantly seeing, your name. I don't use it to capture customers. Honestly, the people who are in my Instagram asking about Dent Repair, they probably like sideswipe the side of their car. So it's not to capture those types of customers. But I was just at a body shop and he was like, yo, I seen your thing on Instagram. And he's like, he didn't comment, he didn't like, but he seen me on Instagram. And again, you're seeing me, you're seeing my guys, you're seeing the name. It's just always in your face, constant, reminder that I'm here and I do dents.
Yeah, and I think with the different marketing, so you use social marketing or just in person stuff like that, and some people say Yelp doesn't work. Well, have you really dived, and Yelp I think is kind of probably not the right platform to use, but say Instagram doesn't work. Well, have you really dove deep down into actually really messing with the ads? Have you really tried to target a market through the ads? Maybe your content isn't good enough, and that's what it is. It's not the algorithm for Instagram, it's your content that's not getting to your customers. So I think if you really and a lot of people don't have time or don't want to really or don't understand it, don't want to dive that deep into how to target with a Facebook ad, with an Instagram ad, because it can get confusing, it can get tough, and just trying to remember all these things on how to target a certain customer. And it's Dent Repair, it's not like it's the easiest thing to market either.
Yeah, it's definitely different. LinkedIn, I think, does like $20 ads on LinkedIn, but you're capturing professionals. So it's a different ad that you would set up, for that. If anybody's looking at marketing, Gary Vee has an 88 deck, I think, that he came out with. It pretty much spells it all out for you.
Yeah, it's a free.
I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm some marketing genius and this, that. Now, yeah, I have some copywriting styles that I like, and I like to get in depth with the analytics. But Gary Vee tells you kind of how it works with his 88-page deck, is what he calls it. So, someone asked about the Tesla Paint Frog. Let me show you the part number that you got to order right now.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is.
So John said his friend in Florida pays a guy $1,000 a month to manage his media and advertising. So
yeah.
And that's just one quote. I think Ryan was getting quotes not too long ago from different sources, and they were kind of all over the board.
Yeah. They're I don't know, that whole market of stuff that's out there is all over the place.
I think there's companies that are, I don't know, because I was just watching that show Fire that's on Netflix now, and they got the best of the best. The best supermodels, the best marketer and advertiser.
The Fire Festival.
Yeah, the Fire Festival. And these dudes that were controlling his Instagram and Twitter account were just dominating this account. I mean, 1 month went by, 100,000, followers.
It's crazy.
And it was all organic. Obviously, they paid, people to push their brand, but it was very methodical the way they did it. And I mean, I know that company got paid millions of dollars to handle their social media account. And just to see what they were thinking and how creative they were and with the hashtags and have people share it at the same time. It's beyond anything we're doing in the PDR realm. And I think Ryan, you said you're getting a lot of differences. Is there any ones that kind of distinguish themselves from each
yeah,
other?
I mean, I think one actually worked with a lot of congressmen.
Okay.
Like in their runnings and stuff. I mean, I think their price, they were in the $4,800 a month ream. Whew. I'm like, I'm just a little dent guy over here with a truck on the road, So, but the problem in that, in those packages and websites, and everybody has a different answer. I don't think there's one, okay, this is what you need to do, then you need to do this. I don't think that answer's there.
I think we need to do a topic on who's our target audience for PDR.
And you're right, because that's going to tailor to your the way. I don't think I've gotten a single dealerships over my Instagram ad or Facebook ad or even my AdWords. Probably not. So that's it. We got some topics.
We got a special guest for next week.
Yes.
Kind of excited.
Do you want to share the guest, or?
Yeah, go for it.
You sure?
Yeah, do it.
All right, so we get a little boost. We have Charlie Medina, right?
Molina.
Sorry, man, I butchered his name. I apologize. Just call him Charlie. But anyway, he has a YouTube channel, the PDR Shop on YouTube. So go ahead and check out his channel. He will be joining us next week. He's already given us like 3 or 4 tips. We're just blown away that he's going to share with you guys next week. So definitely stay tuned to Charlie's show, and we appreciate him coming on board and joining the PDR Workshop live Q&A. Any of you guys want to say anything before we close up?
Great show, guys. Thanks for the support, and see you next week.
Me and Ryan both have YouTube channels as well, so if you want to go to those, Windy City Dent Repair and RPS Dent Specialist. So if you want to go over there, subscribe. Ryan's got a lot of content coming out. I just had a couple ideas actually from this chat, so I think I'm going to come out with a couple things this week or the next couple weeks. So we'll see how that goes.
And if you guys can go ahead and hit the like button on your way out, maybe share, on social media this show, that'd be great. We're just trying to get the word out there. Anybody that you think of that can add any value from watching this show, please feel free to share with them and broadcast this on you guys' social media.
Yeah, if you have any other local techs in your market that you guys work with or talk to and they're not really online, just say, hey, check out the PDR Workshop on Mondays. Maybe they can learn something, or they can bring something to us that we don't know. So
and put it out there. Really, we're just trying to grow this little community that we have, and got some really good people in here that we got to meet at MTE, and just put it out there. Just put it on Facebook, put it on Instagram, or whatever you guys can do helps us in every way. And we just enjoy this.
Yeah.
And also check our podcast out on Apple, iTunes.
For sure, guys. For sure. Thank you. And so final verdict, guys. Can someone learn, yes or no now, can someone learn PDR solely on online classes? I'm no.
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 All right, guys, that's it. Final verdict. No. Hey, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next show tomorrow, next week at 9 p.m. Thanks again, guys. Peace.
See ya.